A mom left me a comment I haven't been able to stop thinking about. She said that the diagnosis was completely overwhelming, that she felt there was so much she didn't know. But when she reflected, she said she also thought that everything the evaluators told her about her daughter, she already knew. She just didn't know it would add up to an autism diagnosis. This video is for her and for every parent sitting exactly where she is right now. I'm on the road, so I don't have my usual equipment, so please forgive the video and audio quality right now. I just wanted to get this out there. The first thing I want you to hear is this. Your child is the same child they were the day before the diagnosis. The diagnosis didn't create something new, it just named something that was already there. And a lot of what it named, you did already know. You've been living with it, you've been responding to it, you've been figuring it out in your own way every single day. The paper changed, your child didn't. Now, I know that doesn't make the overwhelm go away because now there's all this information, and if you're anything like this mom, you're already finding that the information doesn't quite fit. Your child doesn't quite look like the examples. The descriptions feel off, and instead of feeling more equipped, you feel more lost. Here's what I want to offer you for that. Focus on understanding your child. Then use what you learn to inform that understanding, not the other way around. Your child is a person to be known, and you are already further along in knowing them than any article, any checklist, and any evaluator's report. But I also want to say something about the information itself, because it's not just the volume of it, it's that so much of it conflicts. You'll find professionals, researchers, and advocates who disagree with each other about everything, sometimes passionately. You'll read one thing that feels right, and then another thing that contradicts it completely. And when you're already overwhelmed, that can make you feel like you're not qualified to sort through it all, like someone else must know better than you do. I want to gently push back on that for you. I developed this perspective the hard way by learning what it costs to abandon your own instincts. In the beginning, I gave away my power constantly. I deferred to professionals. I tamped down what I knew inside instead of cultivating it. I told myself that the discomfort I was feeling was just a part of the deal, part of living with so much unknown. And there is discomfort in the unknown. That's real. But I was also living with a different kind of discomfort, the discomfort of violating my own instincts, of knowing something felt off and overriding that feeling because someone with credentials said otherwise. That second kind of discomfort, it's optional, and I don't recommend it. What I moved through slowly over years was a journey from deep doubt to second guessing to something that finally felt a little more solid. And what made it solid wasn't accumulating more information, it was learning to trust what I'd been building since day one. Because here's the thing about your instincts as a parent, they're not just a hunch. They're not simply data points to weigh against a professional's opinion. They're the accumulated weight of every moment of bonding, every careful observation, every time you notice something no one else in the room noticed, because no one else in the room has been paying attention to this specific child the way you have since the very beginning. That's not nothing. That's everything. Now, I do recognize the irony here. I'm essentially one more person with opinions telling you to be wary of people with opinions. I do see that. But there's a difference between somebody telling you things to do in a specific way and someone simply pointing you back to yourself. I'm not asking you to take my word for anything. I'm just suggesting that you take your word for something, specifically that you know your child. And more important than any information is to prioritize your connection with your child. I want to tell you about a day I still think about. You may have heard me tell this story before, but I'm going to risk it and tell it again. My son was 7 and I was homeschooling him, and his needs were intense then. There wasn't much downtime, and 2 people who were supposed to come in and help that day both called in sick, and suddenly it was just the 2 of us for the entire day. And my first thought was, I need to use this time really well. Instead of focusing on our connection, on spending the day bonding with him, I was focusing on what I needed to teach him. One of the things weighing on me at the time, one of the things I was planning to do, was to teach him how to swallow pills. So I prepared, I had anatomy drawings, explanations, I had empty capsules so that I could practice without poisoning myself. I assumed this would take hours, maybe even days. We sat down, and within 30 minutes, he could swallow pills. calmly, easily. And my first thought, instead of celebration, was, oh no, what are we going to do all day? My mind immediately started building a plan. How do I maximize this time? How do I make it count? At some point, and I don't even remember deciding this, I just stopped. We had done the thing. We had met the goal for the day. So we played. No objective, no measurable outcome. And it was one of the easiest days we ever had. Connected, light, not miraculous, just uncomplicated. The next day, I went right back to my default, back to managing, back to structuring, back to carrying the future. That day didn't transform me like I wish it had, but it did stay with me, and it became evidence that another way of being was possible. It took me years to understand what had been happening. When I lived inside that intensity, I was driven by fear that I would miss something. I was trying to get all of the information, make it all count for him. I wanted to share the story again because I really want to highlight that connection, intentionally built and fiercely protected, is the foundation of every single breakthrough. Yes, we want to learn as much as we can. We want to try to use what we learn to help our children, but the connection comes first. The connection is more important than anything, more than any specific teaching, more than the right therapy or the right program or the right information. The relationship is not the backdrop to the work. The relationship is the work. When I look back at what actually moved the needle for my son, it was always underneath everything else, the quality of our connection. And here's one more thing I want to offer. When the pressure to figure it all out right now feels unbearable, you don't have to learn it all at once because your child isn't finished yet. They're going to change and grow, and the things that are true about them today will shift, and new strengths will emerge, new questions will replace old ones. And the research available to you will keep evolving too. Our understanding of autism has changed enormously since I've been in this world, and it will keep. The relationship you're building right now is not a placeholder until you know more. It is the thing itself. So if you're in that early, overwhelming place right now, take a breath. You don't have to have a plan by the end of the week. You don't have to resolve every conflicting opinion before you're allowed to move forward. Your child, start there. Let everything else come in slowly, in pieces that you can actually use. Your child's the same child today that they were the day before the diagnosis. And you're already the parent that they need. If you enjoyed this, I hope you'll consider subscribing, giving it a like, and sharing it with another parent who may need to hear this today. I'll see you in the next one.